Shalom all. Shabbat Shalom. Praise Yah. What a great day. What a time we live in. It's time we really, really know what it means to be the dwelling place of Yahuwah Elohim. Praise Yah. So, we just want to thank you, Father. We want to thank you, Yah, that we can walk as your bride to one day, so that as we're walking as your bride, that one day we will be one with you and we can be the bride of Yahuwah who came to rescue us, walking out each and every word that you breathed, and knowing that we know that we are following the Ruach haKodesh into all things pure and righteous and holy and lovely and of good report. Father, allow us to hear your voice today, as a bride would hear her husband's voice, and know him on every level. We thank you, Father. Hallelujah. In your name, Yahuwah who came to rescue us. Hallelujah. Praise Yah. Praise Yah. Okay, kind of excited today about this in particular. So let's just get started. Something we're all familiar with. 1 Corinthians, well, okay, I'm assuming so. At least we've probably read it. 1 Corinthians 6. We're going to read verses 9 through 20. I want to preface it by saying, in the previous part of the chapter, talks about all types of unrighteousness and inheriting the reign of Elohim, who will, who won't, those who whore, idolaters, adulterers, effeminates, homosexuals, thieves, greedy of gain, drunkards, revilers, swindlers. Okay? Oh, look, I got it right there. I didn't even think I put that part in. So, we'll read, and it talks about taking your brothers to court. We do have that section, so we shouldn't be doing any of these things. All right, so we're going to start at verse 9. Do you not know that the unrighteous shall not inherit the reign of Elohim? That's pretty simple. Do not be deceived. Neither those who whore, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminates, nor homosexuals, nor thieves, nor greedy of gain, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor swindlers shall inherit the reign of Elohim. And such were some of you, but you were washed. We were washed. We were washed through our immersion with Messiah. And we should continue to have our feet washed. But you were set apart. But you were declared right in the name of the Master Yahuwah, and by the Spirit of our Elohim. All is permitted me, but not all do profit. Right? That seems to be confusing for some. Oh, it's all permitted. Is it? All is permitted me, but I shall not be under the authority of any. Not all is permitted if you're of the bride. It might be there. Foods for the stomach and stomach for the foods. But Elohim shall destroy both it and them. And the body is not for whoring, but for the master, and the master for the body. The body needs to have a head, and the head needs to have a body. And Elohim, who raised up the Master, shall also raise us up through his power. Do you not know that your bodies are members of Messiah? Do we really know? Shall I then take the members of Messiah and make them members of a whore? Let it not be. Or do you not know that he who is joined to a whore is one body? A lot of funny doctrines we got out of that, huh? For he says the two shall become one flesh. And he who is joined to the Master is one spirit. Flee whoring. Every sin that a man does outside the body. Every sin that a man does is outside the body. But he who commits whoring sins against his own body. Little seed planting going on there. Or do you not know that your body is the dwelling place of the Ruach haKodesh, who is in you, which you have from Elohim, and you are not your own? He needs to be every piece, part, and conglomerate of the very insides of who you are. For you were bought with a price. Therefore esteem Elohim in your body and in your spirit, which are of Elohim. That's the text. We're gonna pull this apart and see what's really under here today. And we're gonna start in verse 12. All is permitted me. Let me see if I can see my mouse here. But all do not profit. All is permitted me, but I shall not be under the authority of any. So let's look at this word permitted. In the Greek, it's Strong's G1832. Existi. Let me say that again. Existi. Third person, singular present, indicative of a compound of 1537 and 1510. So also, exon, neuter present participle of the same. Well, that's just too much, isn't it? With or without some form of G1510 expressed. Impersonally, it is right through the figurative idea of being out in public. It's all out there. There is nothing new under the sun. If we trace it back, it goes back to Genesis. I think this is the first use. I think it's the first use. Genesis 1:2, and the earth came to be formless and empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the spirit of Elohim was moving on the face of the waters. Now you can find this word in the Hebrew just about anywhere and all over the place. So I just took it back to this one. You could find it in context of things existing. Just things exist. It goes to Ancient Hebrew Lexicon, 1097 MV. That's pretty small down there, but the V is something we're probably familiar with. Haya, exist, to exist or have breath. That which exists has breath. In Hebrew thought, the breath is the character of someone or something. Just as a man has character, so do objects. We see right above it the same definition, to exist or have breath. So the J line and the V line have the same definition. Interesting, they just are one letter off with the wa or the yod in the middle. Just for those of you that might be interested in that. So the action is breathe, the concrete is breath, the abstract is exist at the root line. The pictograph hey represents one who is looking at a great sight with his hands raised and taking a long breath, and the second hey has the same definition according to Benner. All of these things, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent, all the things listed above that we read in the beginning, they exist. They're all there. They all exist. But they do not all profit. Strong's G4851. To bear together, that is to collect, to conduce, especially advantage. Jeremiah 26:14. It goes to, you can trace it back there in the Apostolic Bible Polyglot, or in the Greek Concordance to the Septuagint by Hatch and Redpath. And look, I am in your hand. Do with me as seems good and right to you. Speaking to Jeremiah. I don't know if that's going to come up next or not. but it actually goes to the word Tob. Tob. All kinds of things existed they could have done to Jeremiah. All kinds of them. But what seems Tob? What would profit? Here we have it's good, something that functions properly. So all these things that exist, the ones that we choose to do, are they something that's going to function properly for our lives, for the rest of the body, for the kingdom at large? Are they something that is going to put fruit, or us as fruit, and secure us into the basket? That's the tet. The tet is a basket. It can mean surround, contain. Those are just a couple of the words. So the wa is a tent peg. It means secure, hook, add, join. The bait is the house. It can mean family, inside, house. So are those things that exist going to put us as fruit in the basket, or lead someone else to be this fruit in that day and be in the basket and be secured into the house of Elohim, or the temple portion of Elohim as one with him as the bride, or at a minimum the seed coming in the second resurrection? There's nothing new under the sun. All these things exist. What is going to get us to that point of being first fruits in the basket? Second part of the verse, all is permitted me. All, again, it all exists. It's all out here. But I shall not be under the authority of any. Anything good and functional? No. Anything dysfunctional and evil. Anything ra'ah. All these things exist, but we need not be under the authority of anything that is not of Yahuwah Elohim that'll put us in the basket. We want to be walking in the things that existence created, that exist, that's not twisted, that is pure, righteous, holy, lovely, and of good report. That's what the body, the dwelling, those that are being built into the dwelling place, those into the temple, those into the house, those into the city, it's all a picture, should be walking in. That which is Tob. Oh, I guess we are going to go here. Jeremiah 26, 12 to 15. And Yirmiyahu spoke to all the heads and all the people, all of them. Yahuwah sent me to prophesy against this house, against the house, and against the city, with all the words that he spoke to them. There's all kinds of things that exist out there, and all kinds of people that say they're in leadership, and all kinds of people that are just people in the body, or people outside of the body even, but these were people in the body he was specifically talking to. And in Yerushalayim, as a matter of fact. The city, the house, they've been sent. And now make good, make Tob, your ways and your deeds. What yoke are we in? What instructions are we experiencing? This is this word for deeds. Whatever yoke we're under, that's what we're allowing, that's what exists out there that we're following, because there is a twisted way at this time. And obey the voice of Yahuwah, your Elohim. Then Yahuwah shall relent concerning the evil he has pronounced against you. The dysfunction. You want to be dysfunctional? Just allow us to go on in our dysfunction. or we can do that which profits. We can do that which is Tob. It exists. And without hearing the voice of Yahuwah Elohim, it's pert near impossible to walk in it. And look, I am in your hand. Do with me as seems good and right to you. What are we going to do with the prophet? What are we going to do with the words of the prophet? Or the prophets in the scripture? Or the people that are speaking now? What are we going to do? What seems Tob to us to do? But know for certain that if you put me to death, you are bringing innocent blood on yourselves, and on the city, and on its inhabitants. The whole city's going to suffer. All the inhabitants are going to suffer, and each person individually. For truly Yahuwah has sent me to you to speak all these words in your hearing. Are we going to be like Jezebel the whore that kills the prophets? Or injures them? What is good? What is Tob? What profits? What will put us and the rest of the inhabitants that would be in the city into the basket? First fruits for the first harvest, or at the second harvest for the second resurrection? People are going to see and hear what we do. So that's a look at those two words. I didn't want to spend a lot of time on them because there's some other things I want to spend more time on. So let's go to verse 13. Let's turn on the air conditioner a little bit too. I hope that doesn't mess up the volume. We'll see what happens. We'll hope so. Foods for the stomach, and stomach for foods. But Elohim shall destroy both it and them. And the body is not for whoring, but for the master, and the master for the body. So let's first look at the word foods. It's Greek 1033. Food, literally or figuratively. Period. Are you really eating some food, or are you eating some food? Some spiritual food. That's what the prophets have brought. What's grown from the good seed. Genesis 6:21 and 22. Kind of want to talk about this just a little bit. We're going to trace it back there. As for you, speaking to Noah, before he gets on the ark, as for you, take of all food that is eaten. Not food that's not eaten. There's food that's not eaten. All food that's eaten. He knew what was clean and unclean. Physically and spiritually, literally and figuratively. And gather it to yourselves, and it shall be food for you and for them. And Noah did according to all that Elohim commanded him, so he did. All right, so the word food. Good, it's still working. It's down here. It is makal, or comes from the akal root line, meaning to eat. The action is, let me move this. Having a problem seeing my other screen. The action is eat, the concrete is food. Through sustenance, one becomes whole and complete. Okay, so what are we feeding on? Are we becoming whole and complete by what we're eating? Because it matters. Actually, the 3-letter root is the the L, the Kaf, and the Lam. Up here we see it comes from the 2-letter root. The Kaf Lam. The action is complete. The concrete is vessel. The abstract is whole. Are we a complete whole vessel made ready for the master? The pictograph Kaf is a picture of the bent palm representing the bending or subduing of the will. The Lam is a picture of a shepherd's staff or yoke. Combined, these mean tame for the yoke. An animal or land that is tamed has been worked and is complete and ready for use. Are we? Taming includes construction of the holding pins, putting the soil to the plow, harvesting of crops, milk, or meat. One eats once the harvest is complete. It's all about the bride. This is a small remnant. This is the picture of the small remnant that we have in the Old Testament that went into the ark. They were vessels complete and ready. Noah was for use. Tamed for the yoke, did the work that he needed to do. Righteous before Yahuwah Elohim. One eats once the harvest is complete. So I want to go look at just a few of these words in here so we can get a clearer picture on that. Genesis 6. And take the all. All that is food. Where does all come from? Well, let me see if I can make this bigger. And let me do this. JN. Same root line. Kaf, wa, lamb. Take all the food. Because the remnant is only going to be feeding on that which is food, but that which will bend their will and secure them in the yoke of Yahuwah Elohim. All the food. The food was the El, Kaf, and it was the Mem, El, Kaf, Lam. It came from the El, Kaf, Lam, right here. So what's this, all this food that is eaten? It's going to give us the strength. The El is the ox head. It's the picture of power, strength, authority, or a yoke. It's going to give us the strength. It's going to cause us to be in the yoke, to be fully bent to the will of Elohim, the shepherd, himself to his instructions. We will be in the yoke and tamed to the instructions of the shepherd. We will have the strength, El, and be tame, Kaf, Lam for the yoke. Because we do not want to be entangled with the yoke of bondage. So what we eat, this is a picture of what Noah took on the ark, and gather it to yourself. Let me see if I can get this word up. And gather it. Gather, the gathering together of a group in a bowl, an assembly of people in a place. Those that are eating of this food will be gathered together. But I wanted to show you in this that this comes from the line of the Sin Pei, which is the language that's in the Sefer, that is pure. It's the Sefa, the lip or the edge of something, also is the language spoken from the lips. Is that what we're eating of? Everything that's in its perfect order, pure, righteous, true, holy, and lovely, and of good report. Everything from the El to the Ta that exists, but that exists in its proper order, that is not twisted. Eat that food. Let it exist. Exist. We just saw that. Let it exist as food for you. And Noach did all, we are tamed for the yoke that Elohim commanded him, so did he. What are we feeding on? Is it that which exists, which is pure, righteous, holy, lovely, and of good report? The foods are for the stomach. The stomach is Greek 2836. A cavity that is specifically the abdomen. By implication, the matrix, figuratively, the heart. Right, Neo? Genesis 25:23 is where we trace it back to. And Yahuwah said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 people shall be separated from your body, your bowels, your belly. Those are all translations of this word. And 1 people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. So we see it's Hebrew, Strong's H4578, from an unused root, probably meaning to be soft. Used only in plural, the intestines are collectively the abdomen. Figuratively, sympathy, by implication of vest, by extension the stomach, the uterus, or of men, the seat of generation, the heart, figuratively. Take your pick, right? The Greek will let you mean whatever you want it to mean. So will the King James. Let's take a look at what the Hebrew says. So we say this H4578 goes to 1292 HN. Belly, the gut, the internal organs of the lower torso, the seat of the unconscious mind, also the seat of emotion. All diseases begin in the gut. That might sound familiar to many of you, right? You ever get a gut feeling? It is a mem, an ayin, and a hey. Right here, that it comes from the concrete is belly. At the 2-letter parent root, we have a mem and an ayin. The concrete is belly. The pictograph mem is a picture of water representing what is unknown. The ayin is a picture of an eye representing knowing. Combine this mean an unknown knowing. The gut is the seat of the unconscious mind where one's instincts reside. What you feed is what you feed yourself is what you're going to be. We are what we eat. Isn't that the adage? We are what we eat. If we're feeding the spirit, we're going to have a spiritual mind. Because the carnal mind, which would be feeding the flesh, cannot discern spiritual things, spiritual matters, a spiritual word, a spiritual voice, his voice. So the mem is a picture of water representing what is unknown, because for the Hebrews, when they saw the water, it was this mighty place, and it was like, who's beyond it? What's beyond it? Where does it go? So it was like this questioning word. It was like this unknown word. And the ayin is the eye. It can mean to watch, to be intimate, to know, to understand. And that's where we get this unknown knowing of whatever revelation we're getting by what we're feeding ourselves. Now, does that mean we don't ever see anything that's not lovely, not of good report? Does that mean we're going to chew on it and keep it and put it in our gut and leave it there and feed it? No. I know that I'm not supposed to eat that GMO tomato out there sprayed with Roundup. I know that. Do I know it's there? Do I know what it's made of? Do I know what they did to it? Do I know why? Yes. Otherwise, I wouldn't know not to eat it. Okay, so let's go back to that Genesis 25, 22 to 27. And of course, we're talking about Ribekah here, Yitzhak's wife, and we know that she had Jacob and Esau in there. And within her, the children struggled together. And within her, the children struggled together. And she said, if all is right, why am I this way? So she went to ask Yahuwah. And Yahuwah said to her, 2 nations are in your womb. And 2 people shall be separated from your body, from your bowels, from your belly. One's going to feed the flesh, one's going to feed the beast of the spirit, one's going to be of a carnal mind, an earthly mind, one's going to be of a spiritual mind. And one people shall be stronger than the other, and the older serve the younger. And when the days were filled for her to give birth, and see, twins were in her womb. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. So they called his name Esau. And afterward his brother came out with his hand holding onto Esau's heel. So his name was called Jacob. And Yitzhak was 60 years old when she bore them. And the boys grew up. And Esau became a man knowing how to hunt, a man of the field. While Jacob was a complete, a tamim, mature man, dwelling in tents. And that's what we want to be, a mature tamim people. So I want to go to these in the eSword, Genesis 25, 22. No, actually, just want to look at verse 23 where our word is. Or some words we're going to look at. And that should say Yahuwah, as we all know, said unto her, 2 nations. 2, many of us have heard this. Goya, Goyim, Goy, back. Remember this. By extension, the body, either alive or dead. One's feeding the spirit, one's feeding the flesh, or a corpse. So there's these 2 nations. In her womb, which is a womb, 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. 2 manner of people. 1266 DC. People. A group of people bound together. Were yoked to one, or were yoked to the other. Were joined to Esau, i.e. the whore, i.e. the woman that rides the beast, i.e. Jezebel, i.e. that whole line, okay? Or were of the earth, or were bound in spirit to Yahuwah, Elohim, the Master. We're of one group of people, or you're of another. Can you come out of being of one? Yeah, either way. It comes from the root line lam, which is where we get our letter lam. It's not a lamed, it's a lam. The action is bind the concretist staff. The pictograph lam is a picture of a shepherd's staff. The mem is a picture of water representing might. Combined, these mean staff of might. They also mean you're in one yoke, chaos, or in another yoke, connected to that which cleanses. The shepherd always carries his staff for guiding, leading, and protecting the flock. Is that who we're following? Is that the group of people that we're bound to? There's 2 manner of people in her womb. The flock was bound to the shepherd, as the staff was a sign of his authority over the sheep. Who are we bound to? Who are we joined to? The yoke was a staff laid across the shoulder of 2 oxen. Who are we yoked to? The oxen were then tied to the yokes of the neck, binding the 2 together for plowing or pulling a cart. A people bound together, a wound bound with bandages. The oxen were then tied to the yokes at the neck, binding the 2 together for plowing or pulling the cart. So in the Hebrew mind, and I've said it, in other places, you all have heard this before, the Hebrews thought of themselves as being in the yoke with Yahuwah Elohim, as the lead ox. What are we yoked to? Are we joined to, yoked to the whore? Are we joined to, yoked to the master in the spirit? Which is it? It's either spirit or it's flesh. So there were 2 manner of people that came from her bowels. One would come to have an unknowing knowing of all the things spiritual of Yahuwah Elohim. The other man of people just simply will not. There's no gray area. Might you be in the body and not be the bride and get pieces of this here and there? Okay, sure. But are we fully and completely and wholly like Noah, who fed on all the food that Yahuwah said take for him, which he gathered unto himself from the language root line? Are we walking in the fullness and completeness and the wholeness of that? And one of these groups of people shall be stronger than the other group of people. The elder shall serve the younger. Esau was a cunning, so this is the other group, this is the group we don't want to be part of, was a cunning. He was intimate. He had his eyes set on being a hunter. Does that mean we can't go out and get a deer in deer season? Not at all. It's a picture. One who lays in ambush, meet the produce of the hunt. Esau continually lays in ambush. That manner of people continually lays in ambush for the other manner of people. Jacob was a plain man. It's not plain. He was whole. He was tam, or tamim, or mature, or spotless, because that is where the bride will be pulled from. And those of the second resurrection as well. Someone or something that is whole, complete, or full. One who is mature and upright is one who is whole. One who is going to be the bride. Because that's what we're aiming for at this point, is the first resurrection. And then they go from there. So there's 2 manner of people. What are we going to feed on? Which group are we going to be bound to? Are we going to have the knowing of that which comes from the Spirit? Or are we going to be joined to that which is of the flesh? Foods for the stomach. What are we going to eat? Stomachs for the food. But Elohim shall destroy both it and them. Is he going to destroy all that which is good, righteous, pure, and holy? No, he's going to destroy that which is given to be fed on, that is twisted for whoring. Elohim shall destroy both it and them. Will the flesh go? Of course. And the body is not for whoring, but for the master, and the master for the body, both individually and collectively. And I don't know if I have that scripture in here, but it is in there. From 4203, it's porneia, harlotry, including adultery and incest, figuratively idolatry. Take it back to Numbers 14:33. And your sons shall be wanderers in the wilderness 40 years, and shall bear your whorings, until your carcasses are consumed in the wilderness. Is that not going to happen someday? Yep. Strong's H2184 is Zenuth. From 2181, adultery, that is figuratively infidelity or idolatry. In the ancient Hebrew lexicon, it goes to 1152, HN3. Whoredom. The verb is whore. At the child root, it is concrete is whore, abstract is whoredom, in the sense of being spread abroad. The seed is being spread abroad. The body is accepting a seed because they are spread for it. Okay, that's enough of that, right? The action is harvest, the concrete is a mattock. The pictograph Zion is a picture of an agricultural cutting implement, such as the mattock or hoe. The noon is a picture of a seed. Combined, these mean the mattock of a seed. One of many agricultural tools was a hoe or a mattock. This implement had a wide blade for cutting the plant stalks at the roots. The crops were harvested for a supply of foods which were stored in jars. There's a harvest going to happen, but right now, what are we harvesting? What seed are we harvesting that is grown? What are we feeding people? What are we feeding on? The crops were harvested for a supply of food which were stored in jars. It's all about what we're feeding on. Which seed, I'm trying to click the wrong screen, comes from the Zion noon. There's a harvest. There's food. Comes from a seed, giving us revelation. We're getting some kind of revelation of some kind of seed that's being harvested. There, we read it backwards. But whose is it? And what is it? Is it that which Elohim, that we have gathered unto ourselves, like Noah did, that we gather from Elohim? All that is really food? Good, righteous, lovely, holy, and of good report? Which will lead us to a time of harvest as well. Some shall be harvested and go into eternal life. Others shall be harvested, bound, like the group of people that they are, and thrown into the fire. So let's go read Numbers 14. Y'all know that was hard for me just to pull a few verses out of here, right? 1-4. Then all the congregation lifted up their voices and cried, and the people wept that night. Why? Because they paid attention to those that had a dysfunctional report. They planted another seed. Oh my. In these people, and caused their heart to melt. And all the children of Israel grumbled against Moshe, and against Aaron, against the Torah, against the Torah, and against the priesthood. And all the congregation said to them, if only we had died in the land of Mitzrayim, or if we only had died in this wilderness. And why is Yahuwah bringing us to this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and children should become prey? Would it not be better for us to turn back to Mitzrayim? I want to go back and be joined to the whore. Egypt is just another picture, as we all know, of the world. Would it not be better that we went back instead of going forward? And they said to each other, let us appoint a leader, and let us turn back to Mitzrayim. They wanted to go back to the land of whoredom, even though they had themselves not trusted and not believed and taken in another seed that the 10 spies had planted. And then they wanted to go back to Mitzrayim. 26 to 37. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe and said to Aaron, saying, how long shall this evil congregation, dysfunctional, not Tob, have this grumbling against me? It existed for them to be able to do so. I have heard the grumblings which the children of Israel are grumbling against me. Say to them, as I live, declares Yahuwah, as you have spoken in my hearing, so I do to you. The carcasses of you who have grumbled against me are going to fall in this wilderness. All of you who were registered according to your entire number from 20 years old and above. Are we going to die on this hill? Are we going to come into the mountain of Yahuwah Elohim? Come into the land and do whatever it takes. And allow ourselves to be led. The flesh is not going to lead us there. None of you except Caleb, son of Yefuneh, and Yehoshua, son of Nun, shall enter the land which I swore I would make you dwell in. But your little ones, whom you said would become a prey, I shall bring in. What did they want to do? They wanted to take them back to the bondage. They wanted to take the seed back to the bondage of Mitzrayim and of the world. And they shall know the land which you have rejected. But as for you, your carcasses are going to fall in the wilderness. And your sons shall be wandering in the wilderness 40 years, a purifying period for males, and shall bear your whorings until your carcasses are consumed in the wilderness. You want to be joined to Egypt? You want to go back to Egypt? You want to take the seed with you? Your carcasses will be consumed in this wilderness. Do not even desire to be joined to the whore. Joshua and Caleb went forward, wanted to go forward. It doesn't matter what the size of the giant is. It doesn't matter what it looks like. Do we trust him? Or are we going to let someone else give us another seed to feed on so that we turn back to the things that would cause us to be part of the body of the whore and die in the wilderness? Numbers 25, 1 to 13. Joshua and Caleb seem to have some kind of unknowing knowing. Let's look at another example. And Yisrael dwelt in Shittim, and the people began to whore with the daughters of Moab. Physically? Yes. A picture? Yes. And they invited the people to the slaughterings of their mighty ones, and the people ate and bowed down to their mighty ones. Shall we join ourselves to that? People ate. There's our word, eat. They are taming themselves for a yoke. They are strengthening themselves. It was the El, the Kaf, and the Lamb, the ox head, the palm of the hand, and the shepherd's staff. They are strengthening themselves to be tamed for the yoke of other mighty ones. They ate and bowed down to their mighty ones. Thus Yisrael was joined to Baal Peor, They got themselves into the yoke with the Baal Peor. Different word for joined than we're going to see, but they work in two different contexts. And the displeasure of Yahuwah burned against Israel. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, take all the leaders of the people and hang them up before Yahuwah, before the sun, so that the burning displeasure of Yahuwah turns away from Israel. And Moshe said to the judges of Israel, each one of you shall kill his men who were joined to Baal Peor. If your finger causes you to sin, cut it off. If your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. If your eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. And see, one of the children of Israel came and brought to his brothers a Midianite woman. They weren't even shy about it. Brought her before the eyes of Moshe and before the eyes of all the congregation of the children of Israel, who were weeping at the door of the tent of appointment. Here they were, weeping at the door of the tent of appointment. And this one brought her right in, almost like he was boasting about it. And when Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron the priest, saw it, he rose up from among the congregation and took a spear in his hand. If we're going to be priests and kings, priests to Yahuwah Elohim, these things need to be taken out of the camp, any whoring, absolutely immediately, lest another seed is planted. And he went after the man of Israel into the tent, and thrust both of them through the man of Israel, and the woman through her belly. Thus the plague among the children of Israel came to a stop. So we see that and the woman through her belly. This is a picture of destroying the reproducing that would have happened by mixing your seed with another woman. Killing off, oh no, I don't want to say that. It's just a picture of that. Because what's inside, what's in there, whether it be a different or the same word for belly or womb, it's all contained in there. It's a picture of destroying, again, destroying that which would allow the body to be joined, the seed of Elohim to be joined to a whore, would be amidst the camp. Ezekiel 43, 1-12. And he led me to the gate facing east. What a beautiful picture. One day, this is where we want to be. We do not want to be joined to the body of the whore. We want to be the bride that is going to be pulled from the body of Yahuwah Elohim to go in and be in the basket. Everything that is tob, pure, lovely, and of good report, and righteous, and of good report. In the first resurrection, everything that's tob, be first fruits in the basket. And be secured into the house of Elohim, because the second resurrection will have no power over them. And he led me to the gate facing east. And see, the esteem of Elohim of Israel came from the way of the east, and his voice like the sound of many waters. And the earth shone from his esteem. Won't that be picture? Beautiful picture. Can we hear the water of the river of life which should be flowing from us? Can we hear it? And it was like the appearance of the vision which I saw, like the vision which I saw when he came to destroy the city. And the visions were like the vision which I saw by the river Kabar, and I fell on my face. And the esteem of Yahuwah came into the house by the way of the gate facing east. Are we going to be there for that? Is that what we're joined to? Do we have that in every fiber of our being? That we know, that we know, that we know, that we know. That all the things that we are feeding on and all the things that we are speaking and doing are taking... Really, all the things that we're feeding on is where we're at today. Not that we don't speak and do those things, because what we feed on is what we're going to speak and what we're going to do. Because all diseases begin in the gut. It's going to affect some part of the body, whether it be you individually or the entire body as a whole. Can we feel that? And I don't mean to use the word feel like we got to have some feely thing like in churchianity. But can we sense that in our whole entire being? This beautiful picture of the esteem of Elohim that we're looking forward to, that's going to come into the house by the way of the gate that faces east. And the Spirit took me up and brought me into the inner courtyard, and see, the esteem of Yahuwah filled the house. Are we going to be there in that day? Because ain't no flesh and blood going to inherit that. It's not going to be there. And definitely not in after the 8th great day. Nothing unclean is coming into his house. And I heard someone speaking to me from the house, while a man stood beside me. And he said to me, Son of man, this is the place of my throne, the place of the soles of my feet, when I dwell in the midst of the children of Israel forever. And the house of Israel shall no longer defile my set-apart name, they nor their sovereigns, by their whorings, and by the corpses of their sovereigns on their high places. Stop there. Let's go look at this verse. Ezekiel 43:7. This is the place of my throne. His throne is high and lifted up. This is Kum. This is the word for resurrection, the first resurrection. This is the place of his throne during that time when we go through the 1,000-year millennial reign. Those that will worship before his throne, those that will serve him on his throne, those kings and priests, this is the place. The place of my throne, and the place of the soles of my feet. Feet is what I wanted to look at. Feet. Festival requiring one to travel in the sense of being on foot. It's a festival. What's going to be the trumpet? Then we have atonement. Then we go into Sukkot. What's going to happen at that last trump? That booth's going to be set up. To be on foot walking through a foreign land in the sense of trampling. Isn't that what they were supposed to do? No, instead they wanted to go back and whore. The action is trample, the concrete is foot. This is the place of the soles of his feet. Because he tramples on the head of the enemy. Because the word, the seed, will bruise the head, will crush the head, actually, of the enemy. This is the place of the soles of his feet. Because where is the enemy? In the pit for 1,000 years. Where I dwell in the midst of the children of Israel. Because there'll be those that are there that are in the first resurrection that are ministering the nations. And Israel will come to the mount for the Torot. And my holy name shall the house of Israel no more defile, neither there nor their kings by their whoredom, nor by the carcasses of the kings in their high places. Again, there will be no harvesting or feeding on anything other than the seed of Yahuwah Elohim in that place. Nothing unclean will be in that place. And it reminds me of the picture, I think it's Yehezkel 8, where Yehezkel went into the temple and all the abominations were in the wall. And then he went back behind the wall and there were more abominations in the wall. This is the place of his throne. Verse 8, when they placed their threshold by my threshold and their doorpost by my doorpost with the wall between them and me, they defiled my set-apart name by the abominations which they have done. So I consumed them in my displeasure. Again, that's going to happen again. Now let them put down their whoring and the corpses of their sovereigns far away from me, and I shall dwell in their midst forever. All the things that would cause us to be joined to the body of the whore, or to leave this body, or to try and bring in something else into the body as a whole, or our own body, and then the body as a whole, individually and collectively. We need to put it far away from us. Like, not at all. It's still going to exist. Right now, it still exists. But if we want to dwell, Him to dwell in our midst as a body, fully and wholly and completely, all these things have to be put away from us now. Because it said no one's going to inherit the reign of Elohim. No whore, no adulterer, no fornicator, no effeminate, no greedy, no reviler. Can't remember what else was on that list. Son of man, explain to the house of Israel, and when they are ashamed of their crookednesses, they shall measure the measurements. Water at the door to wash your feet. We need to get our feet washed. Just go look at those words if you want. And since they shall be ashamed of all that they did, and make known to them the design of the house and its structure, and its exits and its entrances, and its entire design, and all its laws, and all its forms, and all its Torot, and write it down before their eyes, so that they observe its entire design, and all its laws, and shall do them. And this is the Torah of the house, upon the mountain top, all the boundary of it, all around, it is most set apart. See, this is the Torah of the house. Put away the whore. And by default, you're following the Torah of the house. And you sense it in your entire being. What a day that will be. What a day that will be. Nothing unclean will be there. Nothing. And to Elohim, who raised up the master, shall also raise us up through his power. Kum, we just saw that word. It's raised up. It's the place of his throne. Do you not know that your bodies are members of Messiah? Shall they then take the members of Messiah and make them members of a whore? Let it not be. Let it not be. Or do you not know that he who is joined to a whore is one body? For he says, the two shall become one flesh. There's nothing wrong with being married. That's not what that verse has to... Well, there's nothing wrong with being married. It's a picture of flesh here on earth, is all. Strong's G4983. This is for our word body. The body, as a sound whole, used in a very wide application, literally or figuratively. So we take it back to Genesis 47:18. And when that year had ended, they came to him, and the next year, and said to him, We do not hide from my master that our silver is all spent, and my master also has the livestock we owned. There has not been left any before my master but our bodies and our lands. Here we are. Ain't taking nothing with us. Going into the land. The land can be used to create a harvest. But we're not taking anything with us. For with not you came, and with not you shall return. We see it goes back to H1472 there. A body, whether alive or dead. Two groups of people gathered together. Those that will be alive, two manner of people, and those that will be dead. And we can see here that it goes to, we saw it in that same verse. When we looked at Ribkah, by extension, the body, either alive or dead, a corpse. Looking at the same picture that we saw with Ribkah, Esau and Jacob. But it's about a manner of people. What kind of people ought we to be in set-apart behavior and in reverence? What kind of people? What nation do we belong to? Are we still in the midst of Mitzrayim? Have we come out and we want to go back because it's too hard? Psalm 110. Oh, no, we don't want to be there yet, right? Psalm 110. Let's pull it up on the eSword. So we have it in front of us. Yahuwah said, oh, let's just pull it up in the King James. You know I hate those words. Yahuwah said to Yahuwah. Yahuwah in the heavens, Yahuwah in the Shem. He can be wherever he wants to be. He can be 10 places at once. Doesn't mean there's 10 of them. He can be 2 places at once. Doesn't mean there's 2 of them. And Yahuwah said unto my master. Who's mastering us? The Word? Who is the Word? Sit thou at my right hand. Remain as my power, strength, and authority. Not a separate person. Until I make your enemies a footstool until I make your enemies a footstool. Heaven is his throne, and the earth is his footstool. Under his feet are those that are of another body, those that are of the seed of the adversary, and the names that are written in the dust of the earth, just like we saw Yahusha write them about the woman caught in adultery, and we saw him writing the name. You can be forgiven. But all these others, he was writing their name in the dust of the earth, because they would be consumed with the dust of the earth when the earth is circumcised on the 8th day. Yahuwah sends your mighty scepter out of Zion. shall send the rod, the branch of thy strength. Who is the branch? He is the branch. Is he going to shake things up? Things are being shaken up. This is the branch of strength. This is knowing your weapon, your strength. The strength that he has is that he is the weapon to know. He's the branch of our strength that comes out of Zion, where we're going to be, where he's going to rule in the midst of his enemies. There are people during the millennial reign that I would assume aren't going to come to know the Torah, because in Zechariah it tells us that if the people of, I think it's Egypt, don't come, they will receive no rain. The people shall be willing, shall volunteer in the day of your might. It's a willing offering. Are we willing to give it now? In the splendor of set apartness, from the womb, from the morning. You have the dew of your youth. Yahuwah has sworn and does not relent. You are a priest forever according to the order of the King of Righteousness. He is the high priest. He is the King of Righteousness. Yahuwah, your right hand, your power, your strength, your authority, because he is the Word, shall smite sovereigns in the day of his wrath, and judge among the nations, among the heathen, among one body or another. One is alive and another is dead. Which one are we joined to? Are we being pulled from the body that's alive for the first resurrection? Or are we part of a body that we're going to be part of the body that is dead and continue on in that and return back to Egypt, or stay in the Egypt that we're in? He shall fill the place with dead bodies. What? There it is again. One is alive and the other is dead. Which body? What is in our body, alive or dead? An unknowing knowing? Is it spiritual? Or is it going to be of the earth? He shall wound the heads over many countries. He shall drink of the brook in the way, therefore he shall lift up the head. Well, let me go back and read that. He drinks of the stream by the wayside. The marriage supper by the river of life. Therefore he does lift up the head, because the word shall rule and be head over all. So if you've got a head, you've got a body. Who's our head? What are we following? Is everything that is flowing through us part of the head of the King of Righteousness? Because you can't have a body of a whore and a head of the King of Righteousness. That is a dead body. Daniel 10, 1-10. This is what it should look like. In the 3rd year of Koresh, sovereign of Persia, a word was revealed to Daniel. El is judge. Judgment of El. That's what decides which body you're in. We're going to pass the judgment. Whose name was called Belshazzar. Never could say that. And the word was true, and the conflict great. And he understood the word and had understanding of the vision. In those days I, Daniel, was mourning 3 weeks of days. I did not eat desirable food, and meat and wine did not come into my mouth, and I did not anoint myself at all till the completion of 3 weeks of days. And on the 24th day of the first new, while I was by the side of the great river, that is Hiddekel, then I lifted up my eyes and looked, and saw a certain man dressed in linen. Yahuwah, who came to rescue us, dressed in linen. This is something that is, well, no, you know what? We're going to go look at it. Verse 5. Daniel 10. He was clothed in linen. It's interesting when I found this. This was the word. He was something that is separated from the whole. This can be a branch separated from the tree, as well as a staff made from a branch. Linen cloth whose fibers are divided. We just saw he was the branch. The rod of his scepter, his mighty rod, when it goes out from Zion. This can be a branch as separated from the tree, or linen cloth whose fibers are divided. And we know it says he was wrapped in linen. He is separated. Of course he is. He was clothed in this linen. He was separated. He was divided. Whose loins were girded with the gold of Upaz. Loins are where the seed is. They were girded. They were belted with gold. Gold is precious. What's our loins supposed to be girded with? What's wrapped around our waist? The belt of truth. This seed fully, the seed that's inside of Yahuwah Elohim, is the pure truth and nothing but the truth. It's a picture of what is precious, and that seed should be precious to the body of Elohim, not the seed of the whore. This is a precious seed. It's him. We're supposed to be made like him. This is a picture of him. This is what should be precious to us, as his seed is the seed that he's planted in us, not a twisted seed of another word or another place, Mitzrayim, Babylon, Esau. This is what should be precious to us. And his body, either alive or dead. It's alive. His body certainly shouldn't be dead. His body isn't dead. We shouldn't be dead as his body. And his body, us, because we're supposed to be made like him. We're supposed to be his body. Are we him? I'm not saying that. His body was like beryl. Tarshish, an unknown precious stone, comes from Resh. The pictograph Resh is a picture of the head of the tribe, chief, or family. Father is passed from generation to generation. The head grants permission for the betrothal of his daughters and determines the inheritor of the tribe or a family. His body is to inherit him, those that are pulled out to be the bride. We're supposed to inherit. The kings and the priests him, the rest the land. Our body is supposed to be alive. Isn't it interesting here that the word is Tarshish? Jonah tried to go to Tarshish, but he couldn't go without doing what he needed to do first. He wasn't supposed to go there. He was supposed to go to Nineveh. Then he was supposed to do it with a good heart. That's, a whole nother story. But isn't it interesting that that's where Jonah wanted to just straight away head to? Well, first you got to die to the flesh. And his face, as the appearance, and it's also interesting, this word beryl. I was going to tell you about this. Thought this was interesting. I looked it up just to see how the adversary, the enemy, however you want to say it, was using it. And it's not shown because beryl comes from some Greek or Latin word. I can't remember exactly what it said. But it was the stone that probably was first used in a crystal ball. You can't see spiritual things with a carnal mind. You can't come at it from the physical. You have to come at it from the spiritual, because first you need to clean the inside of the cup and dish. Then the outside will be clean also, and you'll be able to see. Another smack in the face of Yah. And his face has the appearance of lightning. Also, lightning is a sword from the skies. The shining flash of a sword as its thrust comes from the Beit Resh, which is the family of heads, being bright. So are we putting forth the word of Yahuwah Elohim? We know there was lightning and thunders on that mount. That's a picture of him. It's not the same word, that I can tell you. But this is a picture of Moshe's face shone bright. I don't know if it's the same word either, but he was certainly part of a family of heads, I can guarantee that. Ready for the harvest. And the appearance of his face was as the appearance of lightning. Okay, I'm just going to say this from our English perspective. Do we shine? Are we shining forth? Do people see the shine, the brightness, the light of Yahuwah coming from us? And his eyes as lamps of fire. If your eyes are dark, if your body's dark, how great is that darkness that's inside of you? Again, a picture of, this has Deborah written all over it for another day. This has Deborah as the bride written all over it. His eyes as lamps of fire, because fire not only consumes, it also purifies. Are we precious in his sight? Is he precious in ours? And his arms and feet like polished bronze. Well, the arm, obviously, Zarah, throws the seed. That's where the arm comes from. Throws the seed out there. So his arms, because his seed is out there. And his feet, which we've already seen, which should, let me see, I got notes here, which should trample on the enemy, just as we should trample on scorpions, snakes and scorpions in Psalm 91. He bruises the head of the enemy. He crushes him, actually, at some point. And his feet in color. This is a picture of the shepherd watching over his livestock. The eye reveals the heart of a person. This is the shepherd. And his feet were like, oh, okay. The color, my fault. I went to the wrong word. The eye reveals the heart of the person, as well as a spring or fountain as the eye of the ground. So his feet were constantly walking according to that which was pure, righteous, holy, lovely, and of good report, constantly watching over his sheep, crushing the head of the enemy. His feet in color to polished. Here's the shepherd right here. The action is gathered, the concrete is shepherd. Polished. Yes, I know it's an unknown connection to the root. I don't know how it could possibly be. something that is light in weight or stature. No, it's just that he's combined these mean gathering to the staff. The kuf is a picture of the sun on the horizon and the gathering of the light. The lam is a picture of a shepherd's staff representing authority. Combine these mean gathering to the staff. When the shepherd called the sheep, they swiftly came to him. The staff of the shepherd was his tool of authority. With it he would direct, discipline, and protect the flock. Okay? His staff of authority is the power, strength, and authority that, quote unquote, sits or dwells at his right hand, because it's his power, strength, and authority, and it is what he's walking out, and it is used to walk on the head of the Nahash. That's what we should be doing, because if we look back at Genesis 3:15, and I will put enmity between the woman and between thy seed, the Safra, which is sown with his hand, and it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Bruise. Strike. The striking of a serpent. The action is strike. The concrete is serpent. Sharp teeth in the mouth. A serpent, a venomous snake, has sharp fangs in its mouth. Sounds like a microneedle array. Its prey is taken into the mouth and swallowed by drawing down into the belly. His feet are like polished bronze, the shepherd. And if we are following the shepherd, we should carry that same staff of authority to a point. We are not the staff of authority. And crush the head of the serpent, and the sound of his words like the sound of a crowd. The verse finishes out in Daniel. What a beautiful picture of who we are to be as the body. We are supposed to be made like Elohim. We are supposed to be more and more like the Word himself, following in the footsteps of Yahushua, Yahuwah, who came to rescue us. The power, the strength, and authority that comes from him, the Word himself. That's the body that we're supposed to be. Is that who we are? Because the carnal mind, the flesh, cannot discern spiritual things. And I, Daniel, alone saw the vision, for the men who were with me did not see the vision, but a great trembling fell upon them, and they ran away and hid themselves. There ain't nowhere to hide. So I was left alone when I saw this great vision, and no strength remained in me, for my comeliness was destroyed in me, and I retained no strength. But I heard the sound of his words, and while I heard the sound of his words, I was stunned, lying with my face on the ground. Are we stunned? I wonder what that looks like in the Hebrew. And see, a hand touched me and set me trembling on my knees and on the palms of my hand. He was on all fours. This is a picture of the one we are to be made like. We are to be that body. We are to have the truth precious as gold. Wasn't that interesting? No wonder they want to get to that so bad. Oh my goodness, I just can't believe what I'm reading today. Girded around our waist and protecting that seed. Our body is to be his. We were purchased with a price. Our feet are to be walking on the enemy. Nehemiah 9:21-26. 8:30. And for 40 years you sustained them in the wilderness. They lacked not. Why? Because they all had to be cleansed. All that generation had to dry off except for Caleb and Yehoshua. Their garments did not wear out, and their feet did not swell. And you gave them reins and peoples, and apportioned them their lot. So they took possession of the land of Sihon, and the land of the sovereign of Heshbon, and the land of Og, sovereign of Bashan. And you increased their children as the stars of the heavens, and brought them into the land which you had said to their fathers to go in and possess. There's an inheritance. So the sons went in and possessed the land, and you humbled before them the people of the land, the Canaanites, and gave them into their hands with their sovereigns and the people of the land to do with them as they desired. And they captured the walled cities and the rich land, and possessed houses filled with all goods, cisterns already dug, vineyards and olive trees and fruit trees in plenty. So they ate and were satisfied and grew fat, and delighted themselves in your great goodness. But they became disobedient, and rebelled against you, and cast your Torot behind their backs. Verse 26. I was wondering where we were going with that. That happens sometimes. Nehemiah 9:26. They were disobedient. They were bitter. They were rebellious, like at the waters of Marah. Stagnant, and they rebelled against thee, and threw away what was good, righteous, and holy, lovely, and of good report, the El Tah. They cast the El to the Tah that was contained in the Torot, everything in its proper order behind their backs. Behind their body. They cast it behind them. Isn't that interesting? And slew the prophets, those who would put the seed into the house so that people could be yoked to Elohim. The fruit produced inside of man. See, there's a seed inside this house, and it is of Elohim. And they didn't want anything to do with it, which testified against them to turn them to thee. Oh, let me read it out of here. And they kill your prophets who had warned them to bring them back to yourself. And they worked great blasphemies. We can't just cast the El to the Tah away. Obedience is key. He gave us the instructions, but he put them in a certain and a proper, everything's in a certain and a proper order. They just cast it behind their back and killed those that would tell them about it. That's one way to be joined to a whore. That's one way to get right out of the body of Messiah. If your hand sins, cut it off. 1 Corinthians 12. Serious? The whole thing. Alrighty then. Alrighty then. Okay. And concerning spiritual gifts, are we carnally minded? Are we spiritually minded? And I don't mean gnosis. It comes from what's inside of us. And concerning spiritual gifts, brothers, I do not wish you to be ignorant. Of course not. We need to know. You know that you were nations led away to the dumb idols. We were nations. We were a body. They were alive, and then they got led away into something that would cause death. They were goy. Threw it behind their back. Group of people, alive or dead. Misery loves company. Wow. Even as you might be led. Therefore, I make known to you that no one speaking by the Spirit of Elohim, of which we are supposed to be the dwelling place, and have this unknowing knowing that's inside of us, because we are feeding on spiritual things and not feeding the flesh. No one speaking by the Spirit of Elohim says Yahuwah, who came to rescue us, is a curse. And no one is able to say that Yahusha is master except by the set-apart Spirit. No one is able to say that there's one master and he is Yah who came to rescue us unless the Ruach haKodesh gives it to you. I mean, someone may say it, but is it really embedded in who they are and what they do? And there are different kinds of gifts, but the same Spirit. One G. One. There are different kinds of services, but the same master. So the master is the Spirit, is the master, and there are different kinds of workings, but the same Elohim. So the master is the Spirit, is the master, is Elohim, just following it down the verses here. Who is working in all? Who is working in us that we are supposed to be being built into the dwelling place of? I'm saying he's there. He's working in us. Are we the fullness of that dwelling place now? Look around, of course not. And we're not going to be until we're made like him, because we've still got this flesh to deal with. And to each one is given the manifestation of the Spirit for profiting. There is something that profits. It comes from the Spirit. It's being joined to the body of the master in spirit, not the body of the whore, which is flesh. What profits is tob. It's good and righteous and holy and lovely and of good report. For to one is given a word of wisdom through the Spirit, not through the flesh. Not through the flesh. And to another a word of knowledge, according to the same Spirit, not the flesh. And to another belief by the same Spirit, and to another gifts of healing by the same Spirit, and to another operations of powers, and to another prophecy, and to another discerning of spirits, and to another kinds of tongues, languages, and to another interpretation of these languages, because there's an interpretation of his language. It's for the bride. I guarantee you it's for the bride. But one and the same Spirit works all these in the whole body, whether you're an individual part of that body or collectively as a whole, distributing to each one, individually as he intends, yet it's collectively. So each individual member makes a body whole. For as the body is one, it has many members, But all the members of that one body, being many, are one body. So also is the Messiah. We are members under the head of Yahuwah, who came to rescue us. We are to be one body, joined in spirit. Nothing in there said flesh. Nothing in this chapter said the flesh gave you anything. Me, anything. Any of us, anything. For indeed, by one Spirit, those that are joined to the Master, we were all immersed into one body. You can jump out of his hand, though. Whether Yehudim or Greeks, whether slaves or free, we were all made to drink into one Spirit. For indeed, the body is not one member, but many. So where are we going? Where are we walking? Individually and collectively. All these members, are we truly trampling on the head of the serpent? Truly? Do we have everything that's in its proper order from the El to the Ta right in front of us? Are we going to, I'm reading out of my notes, are we going to be that part of the body that is pulled from the body to be the bride? Fully walking, doing, obeying, and seeing. If the foot says, because I am not a hand, I do not belong to the body, does it therefore not belong to the body? How are we going to trample on these scorpions and serpents without feet? How are we going to spread the seed without a hand? Do I know we speak the seed? Of course. It's a picture. And if the ear says, because I am not an eye, how are you going to hear? How are you going to see? I do not belong to the body. Does it therefore not belong to the body? If all the body was an eye, where would be the hearing? If all the hearing, where would be the smelling? That sweet smelling aroma. It comes from the wind of the Ruach that blows. But now Elohim has set the members, each one of them, in the body, even as he is pleased. Because the body is his inheritance. Those that are pulled from the body as the bride are his inheritance. And the rest come and inherit the land. He's still going to be the head of the whole body of Israel. He still is. And if they had all had been one member, where would the body be? And now there are indeed many members, but one body. Are we joined in spirit to the Master? And the eye is unable to say to the hand, I have no need of you. Or again to the head, or again the head to the feet, I have no need of you. We have to be under that head, or the feet aren't going to be going in the right direction. But much rather, isn't that an interesting picture? But much rather, those members of the body which are thought to be weaker are necessary. And to those of the body which we think to be less respected, these we present greater respect. And our unseemly have greater seemliness, where our seemly have no need. But Elohim blended together the body, having given greater respect to that which lacks it, that there should be no division in the body. The body is either alive or it's dead. If there is division, then those that are spiritual need to come and, like blood that flows through the body, the blood flows through the body and goes to heal the wound, goes to heal the sickness. Everything rushes to heal the sickness. Isn't that a picture for today? But that the members should have the same concern for one another, which boils down to love. Love is truth. You have to love in spirit and in truth. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, you can do that. No, it's not okay. But you can only say so much. I mean, you could say it all you want. I guess I shouldn't put it that way. But some people just aren't going to hear. And if one member suffers, all the members suffer with it. Or if one member is esteemed, all the members rejoice with it. And you are the... Oh, this is why I wanted to read all this. And you are the... This is why I wanted to read the whole thing. And you are the body of Messiah. You're a whole entire body put together, yet you're members individually. What affects you affects everyone. What you bring in, what I bring in, what we bring in. I'm not trying to do a finger pointing thing. What one person brings in, what one person does, affects the rest of the whole entire body, because we are not only the body of Messiah, but we are members individually. What are we feeding on and what are we bringing in? All diseases begin in the gut. And what are we bringing in that would affect the whole entire body as an individual member that they are supposed to be inheriting, supposed to be the body, the inheritance, those that would affect the bride for the first resurrection? Are we bringing in those things of the Spirit we read about above? Really? Or have we turned them into something made of the flesh like churchianity? Are we still hanging on to some of that? And Elohim has appointed these in the assembly. First emissaries, prophets, teachers, miracles, gifts of healing, helps, ministrations, kinds of languages. Are all emissaries? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Are all workers of miracles? Do all have gifts of healing? Do all speak with languages? Do all interpret? But earnestly seek the better gifts, and yet I show you a more excellent way. Look for everything from the L to the Ta in its proper order, and everything you're doing, everything exists. But we need to fall in line with that which is good and righteous and pure and lovely and of good report. What kind of the members of the body are we? Have we bringing in things that would pull others out and join them to the whore? Like we saw when we read about Phineas, like we saw with the spies who came and brought a dysfunctional report. Let's all turn back to Mitzrayim. What are we bringing in? Doesn't remember what your function is in the body. There's still a function. Everything's got a function. Even the junk DNA. How about that? Okay, so we're going to stop here because this is almost 2 hours and I probably got another hour and a half left. Really, next part we're going to get into what this dwelling place looks like for us as the bride. So this will be part 1. And Father, we just thank you, Yahuwah Elohim, Father, that we can walk in and set our minds to everything that is pure, righteous, holy, lovely, and of good report, that is Tob. Father, that we would be members of the body that would bring the seed of truth, that we would feed on those things that would feed our spirit and not our flesh, and that we would walk in the spirit of Yahuwah Elohim, Father, the spirit of Messiah, as it says in some places. Father, I ask Yah that we take, each of us, a close look at that which we are producing and bringing forth and listening to and looking at, that we are feeding ourselves with. Would it cause us to bring others to Messiah, to Yahuwah Elohim? Or would it cause us to draw them away? Would it cause the body to be injured? Father, I ask Yahuwah that you would open our eyes, cause our ears to hear, and our hearts to turn and repent from those things, Father. That we might know that we know that we know that we know all those things which come from you. In Yahuwah's name, hallelujah. Praise Father. Thank you. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.